want to do right now is I just want to give the most authentic, realist content of your journey, because I know everybody wants to know how you went from having that 3-year plan, no experience in rent-to-rent at this point, to over £25,000 in 1 month of revenue in just 6 months. So before we get into that, do you just want to introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about, where you were before rent-to-rent?
Yeah, sure. So Ricky is a software engineer. I'm a communications consultant. And yeah, we were both pretty high up in our fields, but we wanted that legacy, something to leave behind for our kids, We've got 3 boys at home, 1 girl on the way, and we just really wanted to... We just wanted to create something worthwhile to share with our family.
Beautiful. And how the hell did you hear about this thing called rent-to-rent? Whose idea was that?
I don't know if it was mine, but I wanted to get into property, but obviously we live in London, so the house prices are high, big barrier to entry. So I guess how did it go? No, I had a friend who was doing property, and I thought, let me start learning a bit more about it, but Rox hadn't really been too interested in property at that point. But I'd waited long enough, I thought, and we need to do something. So I told her I'm going to get into property. And she, I think that's when you then decided to...
Yeah. He said, I'm going to do this with or without you. So at that point I said, okay, hold on, wait a minute. Let's just see if there's a best, practice, a best method to doing this. So we found one of those big companies, did one of those run to the back of a room courses. And I thought, okay, this is looking interesting, but, I didn't like the add-ons. Everyone's trying to feed me and get me to go into a mastermind, get me to pay for this, get me to pay for that. And I thought, you know what? While it's very important to have your education, mentoring is an investment that I'd like to take on. But not with just anybody, not with a generic party. I want somebody who's specialist, someone who knows what they're doing, because mistakes are costly and I didn't want to make them. So that's when we shopped around and we found you.
Ah, come on. Wow. Yeah, so obviously, I got to be honest with you guys. You guys are killing it. And Roxie said to me, and she's not the only person that said to me, but she's like, listen, Simon, I'm a beast, like I'm going to impress you, I'm going to be your best case study or whatever it was. But yeah, just so we can fast forward in a minute. But so obviously you've got these big careers, earning good money by the sounds of it. Why, obviously you got the kids and stuff, but what was your real why? Why did you need to do this in the first place?
I guess we had kids young. We were Roxanne was in her teens and I was just barely 20. So we've been working very, very hard to obviously pay for nursery fees and all of these things. It's not been easy, but it got to a point where I guess a few years ago, we're still working very hard and we've not really got a real legacy, and it felt not really as fulfilling. We've been hearing a lot about property and business and stuff. We thought we need something that we can put this much effort into, as we have been doing, that we can at least pass on to our family or at least care about. So we should at least give this a try.
Sure, Roxie, that's beautiful. That resonates. And Roxie, anything to add on that and what your sort of why was? Why did you think, okay, yeah, let's do it?
Yeah, I think it's very much the same for me. It was getting up every morning really early, barely seeing those kids, getting them ready, dropping them off to nursery, going into work for hours and hours about something that you can pretend to care about for 8 hours straight. But when you get home, you don't take that with you. And I didn't want to show that to my kids as the only way to live their lives. Working for somebody else isn't the only way to make money in this world. So we knew we had to demonstrate, that there were options out there. And that's how these kids are learning. They're really loving the property business.
Yeah, like going around like saying, oh, let's do this. Oh, that's what you was telling me, right?
Yeah. The 4-year-olds walking around, ooh, mummy, I like that property. Can we get that property, mummy? So, yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, it must be crazy, actually. I've not even really complimented that, like, but kids seeing that you can just, like, get all these houses, like, that's mad. It's powerful. So, okay, then, cool. So you've got the why, you've made the decision. Ricky's been kind of nudging. Roxie's like, if anybody's going to be doing it, I'm going to be doing it with you. We start working together. Sort of, what happened next?
Yeah, so I started off full of confidence. So I was off work at that time, in between contracts. So I said, hey, I've got this. Let me start this up. You do what you're doing. And yeah. The rejection was harsh, man. At the beginning, it was a lot. It was frequent. It was often. You know, when you start something up and you're thinking, oh yeah, this is definitely going to work. And then the agents start telling you you haven't been in business long enough. And then the landlords start telling you, you know, we only work with estate agents and those kinds of things. And yeah, it was, at the beginning, it was a bit scary, a bit disheartening. We thought, we've made this investment. What's going to come of it? But then you said stay the course. So we did. We kept on calling around. We kept on going. Ricky mostly had watched every single mastermind session that Simon had ever filmed. It was a lot. So like the education element we had, it's like,
I actually didn't know that.
every single one, like, yeah.
When it comes to learning, obviously we've done a lot of it. I think it was in the beginning. I'm very much the the positive procrastinator. Where I'll learn everything. Okay, I'm ready now. And Roxanne's more like the action.
Yeah.
So she'll just kind of go ahead and do something. So I guess we kind of balanced each other out there.
Definitely. But yeah, so we started getting viewings. They were good. And then in February, 3 properties came up at once. And I managed to go, have the viewings. They were really good. And I got home and I said to Ricky, yeah, I found 3 properties and I really like them. He's like, great. So which one are you going to pick? And I was like, well, we're going to go with all 3, aren't we? And he said, no, like, what are you doing? And then I said, no, I think it'll be fine. I mean, we've done the training for this. We're ready for this. And then Ricky said, no, like, why do you want to do this? I was like, let's ask Simon what he thinks. Simon says, go for it. And I said, you heard him, it'll be fine. Did I anticipate that we'd be staying up until midnight painting 3 properties in 2 different times? Hey.
Yo, Ricky, you're a dark horse, you know.
Wow.
Make some noise for Ricky, man. Like.
I joined in sometimes. So yeah, there was a lot of hard work to be done. And obviously we got all 3 of them. We signed all 3 contracts within a week. So that was a lot. I remember the day we went to pick up the first set of keys. I hadn't told you this, but I'd had an operation. So I came out of hospital and Ricky's like, okay, you need to go home. And I'm like, yeah. Or I don't feel that bad, I'll come with you. I'll pick up the key because I closed that deal, I wanted to be there for that big moment. So I'm there just kind of standing up, propping myself against the car. Hi, guys. When he picked up that first set of keys. So I'm gonna remember that one because he was looking at me like I'm unstable. I'm not really unstable. It was fine. So yeah, we got all 3 deals within a week of each other, and then we had to start getting those properties ready. And all 3 of them were supposed to be ready in March. That didn't quite go to plan. But every time something didn't go quite to plan, and there's a little bit of a wobble or freak out, say, hey, let's call Simon. What does Simon say? So that first property we got live, it was the smallest property. It went on to booking.com. I think it went live on the 13th. And Ricky's like, well, we don't have any bookings. It's been a whole 24 hours and no one's booked this property. It's just like, okay, it's not live in the system yet. Give it a few days, it'll be fine. The 15th came and he said, okay, we've had no bookings. It's been 2 full days. It's like, okay, let's call Simon and see what's going on. And Simon said the words, what did he say?
Hold your nerve.
He said, hold your nerve. And Ricky was looking at me like, hold your nerve means nothing. Like, what do I do? I said, he said, hold your nerve, it'll be fine. We got the first booking come through on the 15th. And that was for the 17th. And that property has been practically full ever since.
Wow. Wow. So you got the first one. I mean, this is kind of like when I was looking at the model, and that model didn't come overnight. Like Allah, we didn't have that model, right? Like it was like raw. Like you'll meet Allah, but me and Allah worked together in COVID, and this was the come up's crazy, and how we've managed to develop the concepts and make it accessible to everyone is crazy. But it's that whole controlling the property and then thinking the job's done. And then it gets real. And then it's like, okay, then the cash flow comes and it's like, oh shit, I've got no time, now what? And that's kind of why we put the model together. So in terms of getting those contracts signed, you kind of made that sound so easy, but do you want to hear a little bit more about like one of those and how they managed to get the deal from there to there? All right, sweet. So can you just talk us a little bit through that process from sort of viewing the property, making the offer, and then getting the keys?
Yeah, sure. So I think the second property that we got was the most interesting one. So that's our 4-bed.
Yeah.
So we... Well, I went for that viewing on my own. And, we had lovely pictures on Rightmove and all of that kind of stuff. When I arrived at the property, all of the front windows had been boarded over and there were bits of a drive missing. So the landlord comes, she opens the front door and she said, I can explain. And I said, I'd love to hear it. And it turns out that her ex-tenant's ex-boyfriend had paid a visit and he'd ripped up the drive and put concrete slabs through every front window of that house, because how dare she not want to take him back? Wow. So we went in, we did the tour, and the house was in a terrible state and the landlord was simply devastated. I mean, this had been her family home for many, many years where they'd lived happily. And the tenant had been a friend of hers. So to see the state that they'd left the properties in, I remember the smallest room, which is now a lovely office, you could smell the urine from the dog that they'd locked up in there so many days, nights of the week. It was horrible. It was absolutely foul. And she said to me that so many different people, agents had come and they wanted, so X amount in fees and nobody was going to help her fix this property. And she was devastated because that property was her retirement plan. And she didn't know what she was going to do now. And I asked her, okay, so what is it that you want for the property? And she said, I wanted 2,600, but I know that there's a lot of agent fees that go to that and all of that. And I said, okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take it at that 2,600 and you're not going to worry about this property ever again. We've got this, we've got you, we'll look after this place. She is amazing. She's come down, she's visited a couple of times just to see the transformation, and she is so happy and so stunned by it. She recommends us to everybody. I was WhatsApping with her yesterday. She's the loveliest woman. And being able to take on a profession where you can change lives in so many more ways than one, and not extort, but really support people. I think that's what makes this model really work for us.
Round of applause for that. That's crazy. That's mad. Yeah, that was crazy. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people neglect.
Yeah, I mean, it's about people. I mean, when it comes to clothes, everybody's an individual. You want to make sure that you get to the crux of what this person's issue is. And you have to be there to support. Otherwise, what's the point? It's not just a business transaction. This is your business. So you have to care about it.
It's like talking to, because I guess you talked to her like a person and got to the bottom of, I guess, how we can help her. So
that's crazy. Who's finding this useful so far? Finding it useful, yeah? Brilliant. So we talk about rent to rent 2.0, SA, HMO, controlling deals, cash flow, and sometimes we have a tendency to all be inwards. But the reality is that, and I think that's profound, and I've heard so many other stories where because why would a landlord let us make all this? It really truly is a win-win, and it is a people business. So you're rocking and rolling, okay? When did you first start to sort of smile to yourself and take note of all this cash flow coming in for your hard work and good deeds?
So the first property went live on all platforms in March. We'd expected all of them to be ready by April, but it really came through in May. So in May, we were thinking, okay, this is our first month of all of our properties running. What does this look like? Then June, when the money actually starts coming through and, you start getting money from your bookings, we realized that was our first. We didn't realize there were going to be subsequent ones, but that was our first 25K month, having all 3 properties up and running. That's what it looks like.
Sick. Come on. Wow. And you've probably seen the signs and the stuff about this whole rent to 100K movement that we're creating. And if you think about it, 25 grand a month times 12 months is 300 grand. So overnight, you've gone from nothing to a 6-figure, £300,000 rent to rent business. And I know that 25 grand total income is probably around 10 net. Is that fair? 8, 10?
So that month was a 25K month. There have been others that have been close, others that have exceeded, but obviously we've got to cover over those slower periods as well. But we've gone we hit VAT quickly. That was a surprise, but that 10K profit that month was nice. But we also do a lot of heavy reinvesting into our properties because we want to ensure that they're kept up to scratch. The standard always has to be high.
Can I just ask you, how much are you guys charging on average per property? Obviously, you've got a 4-bed. Did you say a 2-bed and a 1-bed?
So we've got a 4-bed, a 5-bed, and a 2-bed. So average is, well, that's the thing. It can be anything between 250 to 400 a night.
Wow.
It's good, isn't it?
Yes.
Come on. Okay, there's going to be plenty of time because we are going to go to a break in 5 minutes. So what's different now then? What's life like now compared to what it was before? Now you've got this income coming in, you've got these properties. How's that hitting? How's that changing things for you guys?
I think it's because I'm still working as well. Roxie's going to be leaving work soon. But it's when you're working and you get your pings coming in with the bookings and you're seeing the money kind of rolling in while you're trying to focus on your work. So that's nice to see.
Oh, poor you. Roxie?
It's really weird because before you'd get up in the morning and you'd go to work and then you sit there all day, and that's where your money came from. But I remember one morning I was traveling to work, and I sent a couple of emails, and I signed a 10K deal before I stepped into the office. And I was just thinking, I don't need to be here, you know. But no, it's great because I've made it clear I'm retiring in March. I'm retiring now.
Come on. Come on.
You know.
Wow.
Yeah, Ricky, take the helm.
Well, that's beautiful. And we just got a few minutes left. And guys, we're going to have so many breaks. Like, one thing that we wanted to do with this weekend is create the opportunity to network and space. Because you know what it's like? Sometimes when you go to these events, and if you imagine you take a breath, and then take another breath, and then take another breath, and then take another breath, and before you know it, it just gets really overwhelming. So we're not going to overwhelm you. The content we deliver is going to be concise and to the point. But just in terms of just chasing this back to the model, what parts of the model and what things that we've gone through did you find most useful on your journey?
I'd say on the Genius model, it's systemizing. Yeah, making sure we've got that smooth process, the right software, the right team around us has been crucial.
I think it was because we started on a channel manager as soon as we started.
Right.
That's been so. I think that's got a bit of a learning curve with understanding how it works, but because we started from that from the beginning, it's made our life much easier now. So I guess being taught kind of how to systemize is key to making your life easier once, I guess, it gets a bit more busy.
Beautiful. And final point, if you could just give the room one nugget each, like one golden piece of Rent to Rent 2.0 wisdom, what would it be?
For me, it's with sourcing and I guess guest magnets. Knowing to source correctly will make your, I guess, for me, obviously it's stressing about, did I make the right decision? Not that you gave me that choice, but having source and having the confidence allows you to be confident in kind of what you're doing so that you do hold your nerve. So
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Hold your nerve. Like, it looks scary when you're starting out, but once you get into it, it's so beneficial. And it will definitely change every aspect of your life. It will build you up in ways you never knew were possible.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. Make some noise for Ricky and Roxie. Thanks, guys. Yes, man. Congrats, man. Congrats.
Thank you.
Congrats. Okay, then. Who's ready for a break? Okay, sweet. So basically, before we have a break, all I want you to do right now for 30 seconds is I just want you to write down your biggest take home from that session. Okay, your biggest take home. What resonated with you the most? Swiggle it down. And then we are going to break for approximately 15 to 20 minutes. Just remember, guys, there's plenty of tea and coffee and stuff, VIP and premium. There's a breakout as well. Have a good break, and I'll see you after.